this is a prime rib roast. Now, granted, it's not a whole roast. It's about a third of one. 5 pounds is what it started at. A viewer asked me to make prime rib. I'm going to show you how to do it. The key to prime rib is a couple of things, actually 3. Number 1, the meat itself is direly important. Hi, Barkley. You've got to have a really good piece of meat. 2, your seasonings that you use on the meat are very important, and also the fat that you use on the meat. I just traditionally use olive oil, but you could also use mayonnaise, butter, or even a tallow. And then 3rd is your cooking process. You're going to start the meat at a very high temperature for about 15 minutes to get that crust, and then lower it. So right now my smoker is heating up to high, so it's going to get up to about 450, 475. The meat will go on there for 15 minutes. Then I will open the top, turn the temperature down to 200, close the top, and let it cook. Same thing if you do it in an oven. You're going to use that high heat to start around 450 for about 15 minutes. Open the door, turn the heat down to 200, close the door. And I'm not talking about leaving it open for an hour. I'm talking like 5 minutes or so, just to let some of that heat out, but don't get it all the way down, because you want that temperature to slowly come down to cook the meat. So we're going to prepare this. Now I've got string on here just to hold it in the shape I want it in. This is a 5-pound prime roast. We cook this, we're going to cook it fat side up, because I want the fat to drizzle down into the meat. So this side goes down onto the grill or onto your cooking platform, and this side goes up. So as far as our seasoning, it's really simple. We're going to start with some fat. I prefer olive oil. We're just going to put that over the top like so. Roll the meat over and do the same thing on the other side, preferably without throwing the lid on the floor, but it is what it is. Then you're going to take your prime rib seasoning. Now you can use any prime rib seasoning you like. This one happens to be one of my personal favorites. But if you have a brand you prefer or you want to make your own, I'll even be happy to provide you with a recipe to make your own. In fact, this is kind of a combination, actually, of the original seasoning and my own addition of some extra spices. So this isn't rocket science. There's a lot of rock salt or kosher salt in here. Very important. We're just going to sprinkle that over the outside of this pretty liberally, and then roll it over on the other side and do the same thing again. Sorry, I've got fireworks going off outside. Got my attention for a moment. It's that time of the year, July 4th, just around the corner. Now just kind of pat this in, and then what I like to do is put a little extra seasoning on this medium that I've got it sitting on, because I'm just going to roll it around and let that all settle in and work in. Now you notice I'm not putting it on the sides of the cut meat. You don't need to do that. Okay, this is just going to form the crust. Now the smoker is going to get hot. I'm going to let this sit while it heats up. It needs to sit here and rest and absorb some of this salt for about 15 to 20 minutes. You can do it for a shorter time, but you're not going to get the same result. You can see a lot of smoke, right? The temperature on the smoker right now is 477. Again, it's hot. Now, what I'm going to do is open this and set this rib roast meat side down and let it cook at this crazy high heat for about 15 minutes. It's also going to get a lot of smoke. Or if you're doing it in the oven, you're not going to get that smoke infusion for extra flavor. I do recommend, if you're doing this on your grill, even if you haven't grilled on it recently, when it's this hot, go ahead and clean it off. 2 reasons. 1, you're going to get a better cooking service, and 2, when it's that hot, it's going to clean better anyway. All right, let's go ahead and set this on here. Meat side down. Close the lid. Alexa, set a timer for 15 minutes.
15 minutes, starting now.
And then we'll lower the heat. It's been 15 minutes. Now, when I open this up, I'm going to let a lot of heat out. But before I do that, I'm going to turn my heat down. So what I want to do is turn this down to about 200. And then as soon as I open it, you're going to see there's a lot of deep color on that roast. You can actually see the smoke color on the sides. Okay? We're going to move this so it's not sitting on the direct heat source. And now, check and make sure we don't have any hot spots on the meat. You can see it very easily. Roll it around a little bit. Same thing in your oven. Make sure you've got pretty even distribution. Then we're going to put a probe in. Now, I am a believer that you should put this in the thickest center part of the meat. So right there. And my goal is to get that probe to read 119. I know it's a weird number, but 120 is rare. That's what it's going to finish. I like it just a little below that. Now I'm still letting some of this heat out. It's still hot in there. So I'm going to leave this hood open for about 5 or 10 minutes. Let most of that heat out. Try to get this down to about the 300 range, if not even a little lower, before you close it, because that's going to create the cook that will absorb down to the 200. Let's talk about temperatures. So the person who asked me to do this video, I neglected to ask you exactly what you were looking for as far as finished temperature, but prime rib should have some rare in the center and then work out from there all the way about to medium, almost medium well on the very edges. Now, I know there's some people who don't like rare meat. I get it. If you absolutely will not cook this rare, then take it off at 129, because then you're going to finish with medium rare in the middle, working out from there. The key here is to understand what your guests are going to want to eat. So with the exception of my mother, everybody at our table is going to be rare to medium rare. So I'm going to cook this with a goal of 119 at the middle, but I actually usually pull it off at about 115 because I know that I want some really rare in the center. I want a little more traditional rare right beside that, and then a couple cuts of medium rare, and then this one cut of medium out on the end that I can lay in au jus and warm up to medium well if need be. So a 5-pound roast should take about 2.5 hours. It's been just a little over 2 hours. And if I look at the probe here on the readout on the smoker, it says I'm at 124. I don't believe that. Here's a little pro tip for you. Always have an independent thermometer to actually take temperatures with, because here's the trick. When it's hooked up to this machine, it's getting readings from inside the barrel, not just inside the meat. It's going to be affected by the outside source. So you want a thermometer that has not been affected by that heat. These are great. You can find them on Amazon. I think I pay like $6 a piece for these things. They're fantastic. So when I hit this into the center of the meat, let's see what we get. And just like I expected, we're at 112. So we're almost there, but not quite. And I want to take readings from a few different spots. So if I take a reading over here, 108, 113. So I'm real close. I'm just not quite there. You see, even the highest reading I'm getting at the hot spot is 120. So I really want to get my low spot to around that 120. I'm going to flip this around so it gets influenced by the heat slightly differently. Take that probe out. We'll give it about another 15 or 20 minutes. It'll be perfect. Absolutely perfect. If you haven't noticed, I also got some baked potatoes cooking here. Just a great way to cook them as well. And it's almost time to eat. After 2.5 hours, we have reached our target temperature. You can see this has shrunken down quite a bit, but there's still going to be enough to slice into 4 or 5 good-sized slices, depending on how thick you want the cut. So now we need to make sides and then serve it up. All right, I've let this rest for 30 minutes or so. I've taken the string off of it, and we're going to take a final temperature reading right in the middle. And the survey says 126. So the dead center is a perfect rare, and then you're working out from there all the way up to about medium. And it is time to slice this. So we're going to slice it right here in half. And there you see what the internal cook looks like. Next thing to do is actually slice it and eat it. You saw the process. It's not terribly difficult. And this smoked for about 2.5 hours. If you cook it in the oven, the time is about the same. You're just not going to have the same depth of flavor. If there's something you'd like me to make, if there's a recipe you'd like more information on, if you have a question or a comment, just drop it here on the video. Like, share, and subscribe. You can get a hold of me at bill@kansasflamingochef.com. Eat fabulous. I'll see you on the next one.